Hey up, it's Steve from that old Yorkshire geek. I moved my camera yet again. I put it back over there. Now we're back over here, so I can do things on the telly. What can I say? I'm fickle. Right, news today from Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. We've learned its budget, which is high, and also Harrison Ford has been speaking out about the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So let's get into that, shall we? Right, so there we go. This one's from Screen Rant. As usual, links are in the description. And don't forget, like and subscribe, share the videos, drop a comment, hit the notification bell if you're subscribed. I'm also on Rumble and Anchor.fm, Spotify, Amazon Music Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Links in the description, as are the links for my 2 books, Mercury Rapids, Silent Predator. They're there, but I can't get at them. I've put something on top of them because I'm stupid. But anyway, right. And I still haven't done anything with Odyssey. I said I was looking into Odyssey, didn't I? But I haven't got round to that yet. Right, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny budget is among the most expensive movies. And we'll have a look at a list of those in a bit. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny's budget is among, or should it be amongst? I don't know. I'll just say among. Because for some reason I don't like words that end in st, like whilst. It sounds old-fashioned. Anyway, is among the most expensive movies of all time, according to Disney, ranking right behind Justice League. And there he is, being, cooked by, C-U-C-K-E-D, not C-O-O-K. Why, what's the face? Fleabag. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, that's the name, I couldn't remember her name. Right, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny's, still a terrible title, but never mind. Destiny's budget is among the most expensive movies of all time. Harrison Ford is returning for one last globe-trotting adventure as the eponymous intrepid archaeologist. With James Mangold at the helm and making it the first film in the series neither directed by Steven Spielberg nor written by George Lucas, the story will find Indy teaming up with his goddaughter, Helena, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, to weed out former Nazis who infiltrated NASA during the space race. They didn't infiltrate, they were recruited. Have you looked up Operation Paperclip? I mean, there's photos of, the Nazi rocket scientists working in New Mexico, wherever they put them. They set up like little camps for them. And they've still got bloody swastikas about. There's photos, you can find them on the internet. Because there were, some of them, not all of them, but some of them were proper dyed-in-the-wool Nazis. Can you say that? I don't know, but I have done. Right, now, Disney's quarterly earnings report reveals just how much of the studio shelled out for the latest instalment of the Lucasfilm franchise. According to Forbes, the Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny budget is $294.7 million. Wow. Which makes it the 8th most expensive movie of all time, right behind Justice League and the Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, both $300 million. For comparison, the most expensive movie of all time is Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides at $379 million. Where the hell did that come from? I don't think that made money, did it? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know what its gross was. But that's a lot of money for one film. It could be argued this Indiana Jones budget has ballooned because of the reshoots that have gone on. And the same could be said for Justice League, which was seriously reshot. I wonder where Solo is among that. Do we ever find out Solo's budget? I'll have to have a look at this list that we're going to look at in a minute. Right, where Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny's big budget is going. Right, there are various reasons why Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny's, can we shorten that? Can we call it Indy Dodd? Yeah, I'm going to call it Indy Dodd. There are various reasons why Indy Dodd's budget has ballooned. I've got something in my eye. Ow. That's Harrison Ford or James Mangold stabbing a voodoo doll of me because I'm making fun of Indy Dodd. Budget has ballooned to one of the biggest of all time. The biggest factor that drove up its production costs was filming during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. Excuses. A few masks. Resulted in various safety protocols being put in place and production delays which were necessary to keep the cast and crew safe. but also drove up costs. Ford also reportedly suffered a shoulder injury while rehearsing a fight scene, which caused further production delays. They must write that into the budget, though. You know, Harrison Ford's going to get injured, because he does in all of his films, doesn't he? Something always happens and he ends up getting hurt. And there's the trailer. Another factor driving up the cost of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is its special effects. While the Indiana Jones franchise, I forgot to say Indy did, didn't I? Never mind. While the Indiana Jones franchise isn't one that's generally thought of as VFX heavy, yeah it is, and mostly relies on practical effects, which it does, the fifth film uses CGI technology to significantly de-age Harrison Ford for an opening flashback sequence. This type of cutting-edge technology, which has been seen before in Lucasfilm's Star Wars franchise, does come at a cost. The Disney-owned 20th Century Studios took a similar gamble with Avatar: The Way of Water, another movie that relies heavily on CGI, filmed during the height of COVID. The James Cameron-directed sequel ended up costing $350 million, the fourth most expensive movie ever, which wholly paid off with Avatar: The Way of Water, grossing upwards of $2 billion. Disney is betting big that Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Indy Dodd, sees similar success when it releases in theatres this summer. Let's have a drink of coffee. I'm getting a bit hoarse. Hey. Is that it? Yes, there we go. So that's it. 200. What did we say? $294.7 million. So let's have a look at a list, shall we? Here we go. Thanks for Wikipedia. Most expensive productions unadjusted for inflation. If you look at the adjusted figures, it actually doesn't make that much difference to the list. Just the numbers. Right, so there you go. Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, $379 million. Wow. And then you get two Avengers films, 365 and 356. Wow, they were expensive, weren't they? Then Avatar 2, 350. Another Avengers, Infinity War, 325, which is amazing. I love Infinity War. Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, 300 million. Justice League, 300 million. Oh, well, there we go. Solo, a Star Wars story, 275 million. I think they've been a bit generous there, but it was more than that. It was like, what was it, like 80% shot, maybe more than 80% shot, I think 90% shot. And then they sacked the directors, Ron Howard came in and reshot it all again. But there you go, anyway, so there you go, down there. Anyway, they're all films that did pretty well, and then you get to John Carter, 264 million, which were a massive flop, wasn't it? But a really good film. Tell you, sometimes the public are idiots. But anyway, so there you go. So you go down the list, and then there's other films. You look at the adjusted figures, it doesn't make that much difference. There you go, adjusted for inflation. It's still the same films, just in a slightly different order. Oh, pardon me. And there you get Waterworld down here. These days, that would have cost $306 million. At the time, $172 million. But that's, you know, people rag on Waterworld, but I think it's a good film. It's nothing wrong with it. Got good stunts and all that. What else have we got? I was looking for like Cleopatra, because that's one that's usually touted as the most expensive film ever. And Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Let's have a look. Are they down here? There you go. Cleopatra down 31. That would have cost $275 million today. There you go. At the time, it was 31.1. Where's Star Trek: The Motion Picture? And that even made it in the list. Because that used to be the most expensive film ever, so surely it's in the list. No, it's not there, is it? Why? Why ain't it there? Because at the time, it was the most expensive film ever, I think. I can't see it. I thought they'd been round about the Cleopatra area. But no, it's not there. Never mind. So there you go. So it's in good company. It's in good company. Nearly $300 million for a film. Why do films cost so much these days? I think these effects companies are seriously overcharging. There's something going on there, isn't there? There's something going on. They say, there's all these millions of man-hours put in, people of the keyboards and the tablets that they use, the drawing tablets and stuff that they use, graphics tablets. I think they're overcharging. Anyway, going on. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny will fix one of Crystal Skull's big mistakes. What? That Crystal Skull actually exists. Right, Harrison Ford is fairly dismissive of critics of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and he's not trying to hide it either. As gleaned, by the way, speaking of the budget for Dial of Destiny, like 300 million, he's probably easily got to make a billion to break even, hasn't it? Really, seriously. Or at the very least 800 million. They say it's got to triple its budget, haven't they? That's what they say, don't they? To account for, the percentage of ticket sales and advertising and all that. So it's got to triple its budget to break even. So call it a billion or 900 million. Will it do it? Don't know. You never know these days. Who knew Avatar had end up making 2 billion? Everybody thought it'd be successful, but it's been surprising. Anyway, Harrison Ford is fairly dismissive of critics of the Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and he's not trying to hide it either. As gleaned in his latest profile in The Hollywood Reporter, while chatting with THR's James Hibbard, the man in the fedora was reminded that some folks were pretty harsh about Indy 4 in 2008. You know why? Because it was crap. Where are they now? Ford apparently retorted. I mean, the critics were harsh on it, but what are they doing now? I understand, but those were their rules, not Steven Spielberg and George Lucas's rules. They were imposing rules on what the movie should be. No, they were saying it was crap. That's what they were doing, because it was. Compared to the previous 3, it was rubbish. Bloody nuke in the fridge and swinging through the trees with monkeys and... aliens. That's not what Indiana Jones is about. I know it's George Lucas's rules, and he can make up his own rules if he wants to, because it's his property. But, give over. Fair enough, says the article writer. In the late 2000s, it became something akin to sport among film journalists and bloggers, especially online, to pick apart the 4th Indiana Jones movie. This reaction was probably heightened by the fact that many felt Ford was then too old at age 66 to play the part. Well, it were a factor, but everybody said he looked good for his age. And he still does look good for his age. But the main thing was that the film were crap. Yet 15 years later, Ford's still standing with the fedora and bullwhip and arguably busier than ever as he's sandwiching a swan song as Dr. Jones between leading 2 new television shows, 1923 and Shrinking. Well, there you go. He seemed to want to acknowledge this irony in his lively back and forth with the industry trade. Still, the actor and James Mangold, who is the director and co-writer of Indiana Jones, Indy Dodd, seemed keen to acknowledge to the paper that Indy 5 will be doing some things a little differently from Crystal Skull. For starters, instead of shrugging off the fact Ford/Jones is now far past the age of collecting Social Security, Dial of Destiny will embrace this reality head first. In Dial of Destiny, there were a lot of old jokes in the script, as in old jokes. Not old jokes, why did the chicken cross the road? Not that's how old. I presume they mean old jokes, as in about his age. God, that was hard work, wasn't it? Ford said, "We took them out." This revelation was in response to The Hollywood Reporter bringing up that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull simply made light of Indy's even then already advancing years. There would be cracks like a sidekick saying, "This isn't going to be easy," and Indy shooting back, "Not as easy as it used to be." That's not an old joke, that's just talking about, the past. I mean, I don't think he ever said, he didn't do a Roger Murtaugh, did he, from Lethal Weapon? He didn't go, "I'm too old for this shit." Not that I recall, anyway. But by and large, other than those winks and nudges, Crystal Skull's Indy was just as physically robust as ever, beating up men twice his size and half his age with his bare hands. No, in this one, they'll just have the woman doing that. Well... whether fairly or not, some critics made hay out of that. When they said the woman, I mean Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Whether fairly or not, some critics made hay out of that in '08, and it seems Dial of Destiny will be going in a different direction. Said Ford, there is a moment where Indy observes himself in this situation and says, "What the F am I doing in here?" Or, "What the F am I doing in here?" That's not a very good Harrison Ford impression, is it? Never mind. But I hate what I call talking about the story. I want to see circumstances in which the audience gets a chance to experience the story. Not to be led through led by the nose. Led through the nose. Don't look up my nose. Led by the nose with highlights pointed out to them. I'd rather create behaviour that is the joke of age rather than talk about it. It's basically saying, watch the film and make up your own mind. Mangold also spoke with Hibbard and gave his own thoughts about leaning into Indy's age with sincerity and thoughtfulness instead of deflection and self-deprecation. The mistakes you can make in movies is when someone is of a ripe age, but the movie continues this charade that they're not that old, Mangold says. Every challenge he faces is through the reality of what someone of that age would be dealing with. So he'll have loads of pills and stuff he's got to take every morning. And worrying about his hips. Could I do that now? My knees. Your knees go. In other words, we suspect Indy will not be just out punching his foes in the fifth one. No, Phoebe Waller-Bridge will be doing that. At the risk of sounding like one of the jaded cranks, Ford shrugged off. We think this would be a good thing. That phrase. It's a good thing. So there you go. Indiana Jones won't be punching people in Dial of Destiny, and that's a good thing. That's what they're saying. Right, we'll leave it there. So it's the most expensive film, not the most expensive film, but the 8th most expensive film ever made. And Indiana Jones is not going to be punching people as much because he's too old, and they've recognised that. Never mind. Right, so thanks for watching. Wherever you are in the universe, look after each other, and until next time, see thee.